Hi, it's John and welcome to the channel. It is 4:18 a.m. Wednesday, October the 29th. I hope you're having a great start to your Wednesday morning. I have my big blue mug of coffee with me this morning. Thanks for clicking on this video. And over the last couple of weeks, I've mentioned a couple of times on videos, just in passing, that we don't really have a list of all the job losses in Canada since Mark Carney became Prime Minister. Well, I guess maybe since the beginning of the year when the Liberals kind of stepped down and Justin Trudeau stepped down back on January the 6th and we were thrown into a Liberal leadership race. We don't have a full list. It's very strange because at times I've gone on Siri, I've asked ChatGPT, Microsoft Pilot, can you give me an itemized list of all the job losses in Canada since the beginning of the year? And it doesn't come up with very many. In fact, it misses some of the big ones at times. It's almost like it's being held back. It doesn't want to give us the bad news. So I took a little bit of time here. This took a pretty good amount of effort. I hope you'll appreciate that. But here's just a little bit about what's going on here in Canada, the job losses. And you can blame as much of this on Donald Trump as you want. But ladies and gentlemen, eventually somebody in this country, somebody who's going to lead us, has to do something about it.
On the breaking news in Canada's auto industry, Stellantis is moving Jeep Compass production that was planned for its Brampton, Ontario plant to the U.S.
Tragically, 3,000 auto workers in Brampton learned that the Prime Minister had sold them out and failed them in negotiations with the United States of America. To make matters worse, this Liberal government and this Liberal finance minister forked over $15 billion tax dollars to the company that is moving their jobs south. So surely the government would have negotiated a jobs guarantee for every single Canadian Stellantis employee. Will they release that guarantee and the entire contract so Canadians know where their dollars went?
Last night, you might have seen that ConocoPhillips, a major global oil and gas company and long-time contributor to Canada's economy, announced layoffs at its Canadian operations. That means just weeks before Christmas, workers in Calgary, Northern Alberta, and British Columbia will have to go home and tell their families that they've lost their jobs.
This week, Imperial Oil announced it will lay off 20% of its workforce and relocate its headquarters out of Calgary. The Stampede City gets the shaft again. This Prime Minister has the power to eliminate C-48, C-69, the emissions cap, and the industrial carbon tax, but he doesn't care about the average Canadian. He doesn't have to tell his family. He doesn't know how they will pay the mortgage or put groceries on the table.
There's people here that are making their living in this building, producing a good product, and you want to bring it somewhere else. I know it's just a stroke of a pen for them, but it's not a stroke of a pen for me. Not for my family, not for my dad, not for my nephew, not for myself.
So this is what I think about Crown Oil. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing.
It is the private sector that is condemning his ideology, not with words, but with actions. With 86,000 job losses, with the second highest unemployment rate in the G7, with $54 billion of investment fleeing this country.
At a truck manufacturing plant in Quebec, in Sainte-Thérèse, Quebec, just north of Montreal, where we're getting news that 300 jobs are being eliminated. This plant makes heavy trucks, the Peterbilt brand of trucks, and now the union involved is condemning those layoffs, saying the 300 workers are the latest victims of Donald Trump's trade war.
Canada's auto sector has suffered another blow as General Motors is ending production of its BrightDrop electric delivery van in Ingersoll.
The company says the decision is related to low demand and production won't be moved elsewhere, saying this is not connected to Trump tariffs.
Now at the highest level since 2010, youth unemployment in Canada sits at 14.6%, and in Alberta, it's much higher.
Now, the Liberals promised they would cap the temporary foreign worker program at 82,000, but in the first 6 months, they've already handed out 105,000 permits. To put this into perspective, if they do the same number of permits for temporary foreign workers in the next 6 months that they did in the last, they will break the record again with over 200,000 temporary foreign workers coming in to take jobs when our own young people are facing record unemployment.
Today I stand before you again, and I'll put it plainly. We can't walk anymore. We need to run and fast. The last 10 years have been a competitiveness disaster. I believe we can build. I believe we can compete. I believe we can win. But winning requires decisions, urgent, confident, investable decisions. Decisions that will lead Canada to becoming the best place in the world to build energy, infrastructure, and critical resource projects that fuel jobs and growth right across our entire economy.
My short video certainly doesn't account for all the jobs that have been lost. I think it was Sandra Cabino in that short clip, the MP from Newmarket, Aurora, that said 86,000 jobs. There's more every day. And I thought about this morning. Liberals out east, and I throw Doug Ford in there as well, they're like an alcoholic that doesn't want to take the first step to recovery, and that's admitting you've got a problem. Instead, they point all of their blame south of the border. That's what Doug Ford's little ad campaign, the Ronald Reagan ad campaign, which is still running its way through the news cycle, was about. It didn't do any good. Mark Carney says our relationship with the United States is over. He's not solving the problem. Everything is Donald Trump's fault. And like I said the other day, until we start looking within instead of without, and within, that's where the danger is, this isn't going to be solved. But we need somebody to step up. And unfortunately, we haven't got a government right now that's going to do that. And unfortunately, if we're thrown into an election on November 4th, I still feel that the Liberals could end up with a majority just in time for Christmas. And wouldn't that be a lump of coal for all of us? Thanks for watching. If you appreciated the time I put into this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. I tip my big blue mug of coffee to you. Have a great day.